So it's recording. Right.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Everyday Conversations. We've had a great discussion on gender and sex differences so far, but now it's time to move on to some questions. Henry, are you ready to take a few questions from our listeners?
Absolutely.
First question comes from Deja. Henry, what is your opinion about the current state of medical care in regards to sex and gender?
Well, first, we have to understand the differences between terms sex and gender. Sex and gender are often used interchangeable, but there are really differences between the two. Sex refers to the hormonal and physical changes between men and women. Wow, such as chromosomes, hormones, reproductive organs, those kind of things. Gender, on the other hand, refers to the social characteristics of a particular sex, such as their norms and behaviors. And these things influence how society is going to see and treat them. Gender varies from region to region and generally easier to change than sex. Sex, however, usually remains the same throughout a person's life. In Western medicine, we mainly focus on sex of the person because different sexes react differently to medications and treatments. However, we also have to understand the cultural differences between people because it impacts the ability to access healthcare and the types of support services they need.
All right. Next one. This one is from Mia. Mia asks, what are some major differences between the sexes we should know?
Hi there, Mia. In terms of sex, men and women have some very distinct differences. First, the obvious one, is the difference in reproductive organs. These differences determine what type of screenings a person should have to prevent diseases, such as men get prostate exams to prevent prostate cancer, women get cervical exams to prevent cervical cancer. Different sex hormones, such as testosterone and estrogen, also affect things, such as brain function, mood, and how visceral fat is stored. Biological history has suggested hormones affect different functions and effects. For example, high levels of testosterone can cause aggressive and thrill-seeking behavior, while estrogen regulates a woman's menstrual cycle. In respiratory, research suggests women are more susceptible to diseases such as COPD. Men, on the other hand, are more susceptible to occupational-based lung diseases such as pneumoconiosis.
Well, that is very interesting. Our next question comes in. This is from Amy, and Amy asks, how does biological differences affect disease screening and prevention?
All right. Hi, Amy. As I mentioned earlier, men and women have some differences in which screenings they need. Sorry. There's abundance of research describing how diseases affect men and women, both similarly and differently. One good example is cardiovascular care. Men have a greater chance of ischemic sudden death than women, while hypertension and myocardial hypertrophy are greater risk factors for heart failure in women. Women also may experience heart failure with normal blood pressures. While the importance of screenings cannot be overstated, many times screenings focus on just one group rather than the other. Another example would be women are encouraged to seek mental health care and undergo breast exams. But these events also occur in men, so we really should be screening them as well.
All right. There are some great questions, but since we're almost out of time, let's just do one more. Jennifer writes, what are some new ways to approach gender-based care?
Sorry.
Keep going.
Sorry.
Well, Jennifer, some new approaches include training our staff to understand the differences between males and females, and how to address gender identity. One example is electronic health record, how electronic health records store information. EMRs should be able to record both biological sex and preferred gender so the right screenings and treatment decisions are made. Research is changing their focus to include data on both genders. Research is greatly needed in areas such as mental health and osteoporosis in men, while women need greater attention to cardiovascular care.
Well, that is all the time we have today. Thank you, Henry, for your great conversation and sharing your knowledge. I hope to have you back on our show soon, and thank you to all of those listening. Have a wonderful evening, and we will see you next time.
Thank you for having me.